Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 85 of the Jungle Brothers podcast. It's me, Joey. We've got Paul and T in the house today.
What's up?
Hi there.
Good to have you boys back. Missed you last week. Last week's episode was a whole bunch of fun. It was just me and a fella named Rawdon Dubois talking about how to build muscle. Had a lot of good feedback on that episode, mostly from the lads. But a lot of good chat around steroid use and how it affects us and how to build muscle, training and nutrition strategies, like really simplifying it. So if you want to get jacked, definitely go listen to that. And then maybe after listening to today's episode, you might find yourself more inspired to go and get jacked.
Get some steroids.
Yeah. Let's order some PEDs. We're not drinking coffee today, but we've got to give a shout out to our boy Tree and Panavore Cafe because they always supply us. And I just couldn't get there today to pick up the coffee. Tree normally delivers it, but I didn't make it. He didn't make it. So no biggie. We're all caffeinated anyways. What do we need to tell the gang about? We need to tell them about the fight night that's coming up.
Yes.
12th of December.
Correct.
We got 10 bouts. We did have a couple more, but it's 10 bouts, a range of disciplines.
Possibly 11.
Possibly 11.
Tony called me out.
Bullshit.
They called me out.
Last night, filling.
And you're like, you're considering?
Well, Andrew's pulled out.
Yep.
So he's pulled out.
Oh, this is great.
You pulled out of your fight with me.
I pulled out.
Conveniently got yourself a knee surgery.
How about you eat a dick?
Yeah. Paul pulled out on his fight with me, so I was left with no one.
Paul was begging for it.
Paul ran. You ran for me, bro. Yeah. And then, and then Tony said, "Hey, have you found someone for me?" And I was like, "No, we haven't." And he said, "Well, why don't you roll with me?" And I was like, thinking, "Yeah, okay, great," because it's like, obviously, I like the no gi. And he said, "But only in a gi." And I was like, oh, gross. Maybe not. My stomach turned. I was like, I have to have a think about it. But and I feel like I feel like I have to, but I don't have a gi, so I need to get one. And that was my first excuse. I don't even have a gi.
Well, luckily, we sell them here at Jungle Brothers. Yep. And you own part of the business, so there's an entitlement
Hopefully
there.
I can get a discount. then he said, well, you just can borrow one of Joey's. And I just had this image of me walking out on the mats with this tiny little gi. Can't fit me properly. Looking absolutely ridiculous. And I thought, I'm still struggling with the idea, but I think I'm going to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's good.
That's very cool.
T was
good on Tony for
I know.
Put it out there.
I have a feeling he's got some secret weapons that he wants to use on me.
For sure.
He had that look in his eyes. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Dude, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Let's solidify that one in by the end of the day.
That's it, Tones. You're going down.
Well, what's there to decide on?
No, I'm ready. I'm good to go.
We're going to teach T how to tie the belt. and if that's good, then we'll go ahead.
I got a brand new white belt for you.
The long one.
Brand new.
I don't want that dangling.
That like old karate belt that we got hanging around.
He's going to tie the knot up really tight.
Giant shoelace.
But the belt itself is too loose. You know that one?
Yeah.
The big dangly long bits.
Oh, that's cool.
That one.
I hate it. I'm not a big fan of that thing.
All right, so we got 11 fights going on.
11 fights.
That's cool. And we've got a couple new sponsors on board. I wanted to give a shout out to Johan, our designer, who designs all of our shit. He's incredible. Joe Mappy. But he did the fight poster for us, which looks spectacular. It's on our social media. I'm actually picking up some prints today that we're gonna hang in the gym, poster size. But we've also got Famous Soda Co. And we've got Damn Good Wines, who are providing beverages and refreshments for the VIP ticket holders on the night. Who else we got? We got Rise Foundation, obviously all the proceeds going towards them. Anyone else we need to mention there?
No, just that tickets are on sale now. And there's 3 ways that you can watch, and there's also 4 ways that you can donate to the cause, and that's trying to put people through mental health educational courses in our community. And it's online. You can buy a ringside seat. And they're exclusive to 6 people only, and you're just up on the mezzanine and you're there with the fighters and the ref, and you're ringside watching all the blows. And then the second tier is downstairs where you can see the side of our cage of our gym, and that's where the majority of the jeering and the heckling and the energy is going to be coming from down there. And then there's the live stream, which will be available on December 4th for purchase. That's how you would watch the fights and be putting money towards the cause. There's also a way, if you feel like you can't make it, or you're just a listener and a fan and you want to, just donate any nominated amount on the same website as well.
That's cool. So that's all there on the page.
Yeah.
What's how do people find that?
It's on our website. So you just go to junglebrothers.com/blog, and it's like the second blog down.
Sick.
Yeah. That's Fight Night.
Here's a question for you, Joe. Whether I win or not, you give me my blue belt.
Give it to me.
You gotta want it.
Holding Tony's
I want
severed
it.
head. Give it to me.
Well, it has to be an impressive win.
I'll have
You
my
have to
arms
win.
crossed and be like, use too much strength.
That's right. Yes, that's exactly.
I can't, bro. I'm not a black belt. I can't. Oh, I don't
You
know.
possibly will be by then.
maybe.
Got a chance.
Adam. Yeah.
Did you just ask?
Oh, I didn't ask, bro. I never
another
asked.
year.
No. That's years
Let's
behind.
play a different Adam.
Another year on
But
to go.
Got to ask head coach, man.
I'm gonna have to start going to his classes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to anyway.
You got 15
What have I
days.
got? 15 days.
Well, how many classes have you done since we last had this conversation? We said, I want my blue belt. And I said, start going to classes.
One wrestling class. My knee got sore and then they had the baby. 2 wrestling classes, sorry. 2.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, maybe Pavel will be nice enough to give you a blue belt in wrestling. That'd be cool.
After 2 classes. Yeah, nice. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to have to go to Paul's class then.
Yep.
Mondays.
Monday nights, head coach Paul.
Yep. Get a strategy for Tony.
I mean, look, JT's going to be here next month as well.
Oh, yeah. He could give me a blue belt.
You could have a chat with him.
He could give me a blue
Yeah,
belt.
Jay, we got JT joining the ranks.
Stop
He's a
talking.
black belt. Coming off, he's going to be hanging out in the gym a lot. Maybe it's maybe he can say
Maybe
to
we
you,
could do each other a favour.
listen to you, this is what I need to see from you over the next
yes.
24 months
Yep.
to consider you for a blue belt.
Fucking long time. To
No,
do
it's not,
jiu-jitsu.
I don't know how long it is. Entirely up to him.
You know what the problem is? I always get injured. Something like a finger or a pinky or something. There's always something that hurts in jits.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really have to be like, you have to embrace the bad pain
The niggling injuries a
to
bit.
get to where you are. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
but you've
brown
also
blacks.
Yeah, there's
Like
a bit of
everyone
that.
I know has something niggling
That they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But you also came up when you were training more consistently. You were training at some tough gyms. I was talking with
Yeah.
Justin Lang this morning about TP
I always
gym,
enjoyed it.
and he was like, "Man, that was the most fucking
Yeah,
hectic
it
gym.
was hectic.
We were doing the most irresponsible shit."
It was so much fun though.
But when you're training like that, you get hurt.
True.
You know, more so than I mean, people still get injured here upstairs, but I would say the
Not the
rate
same.
would be less.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, way less. Yeah.
It's funny to
Yeah,
think
no,
about
you're right.
those cowboy days.
The good old days.
I would love to see you have that conversation with Paul or with JT and do it.
Let's bring them on the podcast and
Put them on
put them
like
on the
spotlight
spot.
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to know the reasoning behind not being not asking for it and all of that stuff. Like there's obviously tradition and history in there.
Well, the not asking for it thing that depends on the individual.
Right.
Like that. Some coaches never talk about it, and then some coaches talk about it plenty. Like my coach talks about when I get my black belt and stuff like that. He's very open about it.
Yeah.
So there's no feeling of like, oh, if I mentioned it, that would reset me another 12 months.
Yeah.
But I have had coaches in the past where you feel like that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite a powerful position to be in over a student, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to hold that information back,
Totally.
keep them like
them hungry.
dangling the carrot.
We should introduce a belt system to Jungle Brothers.
We do. And the bodyweight mastery system.
We do, don't
We're
we?
denying people all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe we need it across the whole program. And then we make people pay to be graded.
Yeah, you can
And
buy
then
it.
they have to
You can buy
buy-
it.
$50 a belt.
Online.
new
You can buy
belt.
it.
That's what
Yeah.
my kids' belts cost.
Grading days every quarter.
Yeah.
Everyone has to attend.
Yeah.
Lots of increment.
You got to
lots
pay to
of
do the
belts.
test. You don't necessarily
Least-
pass tests. You might have to pay multiple
You can
times.
open up internationally and just do it digitally.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Just film yourself and send it in.
It's a PDF belt.
It's one of them
Congratulations.
cutouts. You print it and then you cut it out.
Gee, that's
We're
too funny.
today's chat, guys, is doesn't officially have a headline topic for it yet, but you're going to get the gist of it. It came about because of a conversation that Tiora had at some point. He brought it to Paul and I recently, and it both resonated. Paul like, I fucking had that conversation heaps of times, and we thought that it was something poignant and we should discuss it. Can you tell us how that conversation played out?
Yes, again, this conversation I've had many times, and I think it usually comes with when I see someone, usually from high school. I'll run into someone from high school, and reminds me of how old I am. You know, we all had that. You know, because you kind of feel like you're younger and more sprightly than you are. Well, I do at this stage, and the conversation kind of goes something around the heyday, the good old days. And then it will finish with, well, you know, we're burned out and we've had it now. And you get categorized in that same space. And in my mind, and I never say it out loud, but in my mind, I always say, I can't relate to where you're feeling right now because I'm not there. You know what I mean? And I don't think I ever will be. I think even when I'm 80 years old, I'm still going to be feeling good. And that's a mindset thing, you know,
and feeling younger than you actually are.
Yeah, and I think that state of that mentality, it's not a lot of the times we look at these milestones in life that categorize us and dictate what we should be. You know what I mean? At a certain age, you know.
Totally.
I think a really good example is. Especially for women, they hit like 50s and all of a sudden they have to cut off all their hair and get the bob cut, you know?
Yeah.
It's like if you're not doing that, you're not kind of conforming to the fact that you're getting old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's the physicality with it. You know, you start hitting 30s and you have kids and all these things start to change, and then it's almost acceptable just to stop caring about your health, you know?
Yeah.
And using all of these extra elements in life as an excuse in a way, you know.
Nature's taking its course.
Yeah. Oh, everyone,
Give in
I'm
to
getting
nature.
old. It's just part of getting old, and
We're all old
you
now.
know, there's kids. We've got kids. You know,
Those days are behind us.
Yeah, it's not about me anymore.
That's
it's about
right.
the kids,
Yep.
and you know, work's so busy. You know, I can't get an hour off, and so stressful, and I've got a mortgage. Oh, there's just this.
I used to do what you do. I used to train like that.
Yeah,
I used to look like you. Oh yeah, I trained all the time. It's
Yeah.
different now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a real. It's sad. It saddens me because it's not necessary, and you don't have to put a hell of a lot of time into yourself to flip the coin, you know, and enjoy your life, and not have to rely on the heydays to get that feeling of warmth, you know.
So I'm guessing like that's pretty clear to folks, because I think anyone that's around our age, 35 to 45, can kind of identify with either having these thoughts in their own mind and having that own narrative. You might have said these things, or having friends that talk like that.
And it's not to say that a lot of those things aren't real. Like, yeah, everyone does have stress, and they
For
all do
sure.
have kids and all that business. But it's kind of like it's the mentality or the submission mindset type thing.
Yeah.
It's like
defeatist.
Yeah, it's like that's what it is, and it's not worth pushing back against type thing.
Yeah, you just
And
kind of roll with decay.
Yeah,
you know?
and everyone's got their own situation, and in a lot of cases, it's very difficult for them to overcome. But yeah, it's
The problem is the more like obviously you feel like as you get older your responsibilities become greater and your time gets taken from you. And before you know, I mean, when you're in your 20s, I mean, we've talked about this before. You look back and think, what the fuck did I do with all my time? You know? And then the kids come, and then you're like, what the fuck was I doing with all my time? Right?
Yeah.
That's right.
It just every last minute gets taken, and then you get a few days without your kids, and you're like, holy shit, I've got all this time on my hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize, and so it's there. It's a reality, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to dictate who you are and what and how you live. You need to be able to prioritize yourself first, because if you don't, then everything around you's suffering anyway. It's as simple as that, you know?
So we've mentioned kids. What are those main factors that place that, that we encounter around our age that start to place that pressure on us?
Financial stress.
Yep.
It's a big one for everyone.
Getting a mortgage and shit.
Yeah, it's not just at this age, it's not just the paying the week-to-week bills and having enough money to going out. It's like, shit, half my friends own houses. What's happening for, the long-term planning and stuff like that. I haven't really made any investments. So you're like, you're chasing that salary and that security and stuff like that.
Yep.
For sure.
Kids' activities are a huge one.
Kids' activities?
Yeah.
In terms of the financial aspect or just the time,
Both.
driving them around?
You come up with the money, but then you got to get them there. Then you got to hang out and watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
And you think, how am I going to get around this? Why not ditch one and do some activity with them?
Ditch one and just leave them there?
No, like
just fucking bail.
Ditch one activity and then play with the kid,
Yeah.
Do some gymnastics
Kill
with
two
them.
birds with one stone.
I mean, think about how much they get out of that by looking up at you as a role model, knowing, okay, well, dad's or mum's in good nick, and I want to follow suit on that. So
on that, we see a lot. You see kids playing at the park and whatnot, and the classic thing, and everyone's felt it, and I've been guilty of it. You go out and your kid's playing, and then you're like on your phone or you're sitting down on the bench. And then they're doing the thing, and you look around, and then I often look around. I'm like, fucking hell, stop it, and put the phone away, whatever, go get involved. But that is a real thing, and I think everyone can acknowledge that, we see this playing out in front of us every day.
Yeah, well, you look at that time with children as, okay, this is actually time I can get ahead of whatever work that I'm doing.
Yeah,
and you think, I can kill two birds with one stone, and it doesn't. You get shit work done, and your kids despise you for not being present, because that's all they know. They don't know any other. They don't live in the past or the future. They're always in the moment. And if you're not in the moment, they fucking know.
Yeah,
instantly comes up.
I've had my kids come up and click their fingers in front of my face, go dad, 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 and if I don't respond, they just fucking walk. And they're like, fuck this guy, Yeah. And then I have to kind of earn their attention back. But yeah, kids are a big one. Food is a big one, especially if you're doing big shifts and you just start eating like shit. And let's say you've got big hours at work, you've got kids pickups and drop-offs, and then and by the time you get home, it's like 8 o'clock, and then you're just getting takeout or picking up some shit. And then at the end of the week, you're sinking some piss because you need to decompress. And this is a spiral. And then you've got no time left to do anything. And that is a spiral. It's a downward spiral, and it will continue to go down until one day you get real sick,
Yeah.
And this is something that if you're in this spiral, you need to recognize it and start making some conscious decisions to change the trend, get that line heading back up again. Because, we all see the statistics. It's heart disease, dementia, all these things that we know can be combated to an extent through a healthy lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I was just a thought. I know that whole story and that makes a lot of sense. You got to turn it around and stuff. But I think I probably see a lot of people who don't have that level of awareness yet because, they don't recognize that they're in the spiral. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the change is slow.
And because the values in their world are probably not favoring health, but those values to them are really bright. Like a career guy who's he's working. He's working made a partner. I'm in the advertising industry and I'm trying to get that one job that, and other people, and it's a lot of it's work, and peer driven. So it's hard for them to hear that. And I'm sure their bodies are telling them, but it's just too noisy.
Stop listening.
Yeah, stop listening. So, it's just an observation. I mean, at some point, it tickles you, then it taps you on the shoulder, then it throws a brick at you, or it hits you with a bus, and it's like, fuck, your back is fucked, type thing,
or your liver,
or whatever, or your liver,
heart.
or your relationship breaks down, or something like that. But that's a tough one.
Well, it's kind of the story of Western, I don't know, entrepreneurialism or the drive for success, isn't it? Like you sacrifice health and happiness for career advancement and a bigger salary to get to a place where your health is fucked, but you're rich. And then you try to and then you're like, oh, well, now that I'm loaded, I can try and get my health back and restore relationships and whatnot. And it's, and we all feel this drive like for success and for advancement of everything we're doing. But you can feel that it's often dueling with, you need more sleep, you need to make better food choices, you need to make time to exercise.
You need to build your relationships or maintain them.
Yeah.
And I think the most important part of that is to make sure that you understand that it's not over. Hitting 35 nowadays is still very young. Hitting 40 is still young. With modern day medicine and the if you look at the average age of death, it just keeps going up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to be
an old
feeling
guy for
like
40
you're
years.
old at 40 is not. It's depending on the situation, but for the general population, it's a myth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got some kind of illness or something, it's different. But we're talking about general population. If you're 40 years old and you're feeling old, majority of that is potentially self-inflicted.
Yes.
And I think that has to be recognised first, that you go, okay, well, I'm still in the game. You know what I mean? It's not all over for me, and I need to start making some conscious steps to feel my age again, to start feeling young.
Imagine too, once you get to, say you live to 90 years old, and then you look back and you think, oh, why did I decide that I was old when I hit 35?
Yeah. Because
I've had another 45 years on this planet of being old. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really unnecessary. Like,
yeah.
It's almost like, sure, if you're only planning on living till 50, yeah, maybe you want to start to settle down a bit. But it's like we do live for such a long time now on average, and hopefully everyone lives a long life. But we should be extending all of our expectations based on that. What about environment? So in this discussion, so we talked about like work kids, the financial thing. What about the people you're hanging around with and the places that you're hanging around with? How does that affect it?
I think there's been a lot of studies been done in this area, and all the data has come back that you just turn into what you're around. Yeah. You're around people that are eating like shit, drinking piss, you're going to eat like shit and drink piss.
Yeah.
Even if you're the healthiest one in that group, if you're around people that are toxic, talking shit all the time, you're going to start talking shit all the time.
If you live in the city, you walk faster and you talk faster.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Country people are too fucking slow for me. How you going? Get on with it, mate. But no, it's true, yeah.
Yeah. There was some sort of study I heard about that.
We mimic each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you're hanging out with your friends and look, again, it's going to be very easy for us to come across as condescending through many parts of this conversation. We want to make clear that we're not, because we recognize that people have all different situations and that kind of thing. However, we are discussing this mindset or this narrative that people have, and it is our intention to kind of combat it. So allow me to be condescending. But, if you're hanging around with a group of friends and everyone's kind of out of shape and no one really goes to the gym and everyone's like, I'm so tired, so busy, let's open a bottle of wine at fucking 2:00 in the afternoon kind of thing. And it's like, that's what we're doing. Yeah, I am so tired. I am so busy. Like that becomes what you do. I think, and this is not the case for our gym, but I would say that a gym or even a sports team provides this for folks, where it's like, you come in and then there's people who are not part of your social group, and there's young people there and there's people older than you, but everyone's kind of chasing health and performance and fitness, whatever. And that you feel a perspective shift when you go into that space. But I think a lot of folks don't even have that space to go to, no?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we have our own statistical data here in the gym, when you look at it, of people, like-minded people hanging out with each other and gaining from those relationships. I mean, you guys are in good condition, and obviously it's because you hang out with me.
Yeah, I put it all down to you.
I'm not even joking. Look at me. look at me.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
a fucking weapon now. But I wasn't like before I started hanging out with you guys. I was not.
True, you could have been big Fiji boy.
Yeah,
Fiji
I was.
boy. Sounds like
That should be my Instagram.
Hey,
big Fiji boy.
Yeah. Well, it's
Come
funny.
over
I was
here.
driving. I was driving back from the Shire this morning, and there was a guy standing on the little island in the middle of the road to cross, and he was. And I always like, you know, when I see like a Polynesian,
Joe thinks
I
he's
always,
black, so he's like, "Hey, bro."
Hey,
Like that. The guy's like,
I always try to like. I always like. I play a little game like, oh, where's he? Where's that person from? Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, I think he's Fijian, but he had like a big. He had like a. You know, what's the what do you like
the
sarong
lava.
kind of deal?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like he'd obviously been swimming at the beach, and then he had it wrapped up. But
Okay.
he was a big boy, like
So
with
it was
a
like a
big
big
belly,
keg.
and he was an older guy, he had
Yeah.
grey hair. But he had the thing like really triumphantly wrapped around his belly, quite high,
Yeah.
like they like to wear. And he was just standing in the middle of the road waiting for the traffic to pass. But I was like, oh, funny looking dude. But yeah, could be you.
Big
could have been
Fiji
you.
boy 83. That's my new Insta handle. Come at me. But no, it's like it's true. Like environment is what shapes everything in nature and the human race. And I feel like at some point I knew I had to get out of the film industry because it was overall destructive for me, for where I wanted to be, and I knew I just had to get out, you know, type of thing. And that's right. And I've come to help hang with you guys, and I feel like I'm very grateful. I'm a lot healthier, and my mindset. I was talking to Ty about it this morning. Like, I'm so grateful for us to just have this as our, like, we're quite lucky in this gym coming here and stuff like that. Whereas I know people who are just in other realities, which is like a corporate reality. It's like we have some good freedoms here. But yeah, I'm the same. Like you're, say for instance, if you didn't hang out with us, I don't know where you'd be, because you drew us
Taking
in.
drugs.
Probably.
More drugs.
More drugs. Yeah. But at some point you're like, hey, Paul and Joe, let's do this thing together, because we
Yeah.
knew that hanging out with
You knew
us
you needed us.
I
would
needed
be
you guys.
better to
Yeah.
get things going for you. So
Yeah.
it's like just an example of
Kind of
environment.
leveraging what's around you.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
benefit
that's
of,
right.
of the group, but also you as an individual.
Yes.
I'm literally the oldest. I'm the oldest staff member in this gym, and I feel
Are you older than Jared?
yeah.
Dog shot.
That was a dog.
Let's
I'm
see
not
if he
even in the
is.
room.
Yeah.
He's not even here.
I know.
He was
That
in
is
the
really
room.
low. I don't think he's even 30. Yeah.
That was low.
God.
Anyway, oldest guy at the gym, and I forget that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still think I'm Ty's age.
Well, it's irrelevant here.
Yeah.
In a sense, it doesn't matter, right? Like you got people in their 20s that train with you and aspire to be able to do, you know,
Yeah.
things that you can do and look
vice
the way,
versa.
all
Yeah.
those things. So it's like, and vice versa. Like the inspiration goes all directions.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, is that in this setting where it's not about like how old are you or at what stage of this corporate ladder are you on. It's just a gym where everyone's moving and exchanging.
Yeah.
And so the age is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well-
and inspiring. And I think there's a place like this in anyone's neighborhood. It's not obviously not like this, but
like this.
there's a place that you'll be able to find, like for someone my age, that that's gonna accept you for who you are. And you go in and you're just gonna do your thing and you're gonna better yourself. But you've got to find it. You've got to find that space. You know?
Yeah. And then you just got to go there a few times a week.
Yep.
Really.
That's it.
Turn up for 3 hours a week.
3 hours a week. It's not a fucking big sacrifice. Like, I tend to look at this step back into health and fitness as this huge like barrier that you need to overcome, and it doesn't have to be that, because you're never going to be your heyday. You're not going to be first grade Johnny,
Johnny.
fucking center,
Johnny's
mid center. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
So what?
And I got to, people often reference this. I want to get back to where I was. I
Yeah.
want to get back to, right? We talk about it all the time.
It's a really strange. It's not a realistic goal.
Well, usually what they're saying is that they want to have, whatever the six pack that they used to have, or they want to, something like that. But I mean, I can't really think of many people that come in here who, if they do what we tell them to do and they do it consistently, that they don't get to a place that's better than they were in their heyday.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe you were a bit leaner, whatever back then, but you still had shit motor patterns. Like you went to the gym all the time and you ate like super high protein. So you like felt pretty good about yourself when you're at the beach and whatever. But really like you moved like shit. Your body was totally locked up. You didn't have any skills.
And youth
like
holds you
movement
together.
skills. Yeah. Whereas like you look at people that go through the process and they're moving better, they're stronger, they're more stable, you know, like, so that idea of going back to, it's almost like, no, you can surpass that.
You can.
I go back to me. Yeah. Only because I used to move terribly, but no, I have definitely surpassed where I started.
Yeah.
I never had like a heyday in this way that I have now because I just couldn't touch my toes and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel way better than I did.
So really what people are reflecting on there is when they've hit that point where they've started to fall victim to these triggers.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, fucking, you know, I've gained weight or whatever, I'm out of shape, haven't trained in years, can't even think about going to the gym. And then they're like, I just want to get back to what I was. Be like, well, it's not about just reverting everything. It's like, let's take a new direction forward.
Yeah, that's right. You can't just go back in time. It's like saying, oh, I want to be 20 years younger. That's my new fitness goal. It's like, you're not going to be that guy. That guy's gone, came and went. Something new now. You got to accept that and start looking at your path a little differently, you know? And this is where the evolution of your training has to change a little. I mean, you guys are coming out of the 20s, 30s, you're moving into...
Oh, fucker, I turned 37 this Sunday.
Yeah, you're moving into this space now, getting closer to 40. What changes do you feel you've had to make to your own like practice to just accommodate the fact that you're getting older?
Well, it's I was thinking about
Before you answer that question, can you tell me what you're doing? Like what's your weekly training schedule like, and how hard is it on the body?
All right, so I go to 2 jiu-jitsu classes a week, which are it's 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night and a Thursday night. 2.5 hours training.
And that's like it's a full contact body sport, full contact sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I do probably three these days strength training sessions, which are about 90 minutes. I do that here in the gym, lifting weights and climbing ropes and that kind of thing. And then that's essentially it. Yeah. Yeah, that's me.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so what? And that's so that's it's a full training week.
Yeah,
especially when you're recovering from a torn meniscus and you're still in rehabilitative phase. ACL. Sorry.
Much.
Oh, sorry.
Meniscus. These guys. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of my strength training is my knee rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how different is your schedule now compared to what it was in your mid-20s, 10 years ago?
Okay. So it's maybe my mid-20s, not that, like I probably wasn't training. I was probably training the same in my mid-20s. I would say I peaked with the amount of training I was doing somewhere around my early 30s. However, I look back at that and I think, well, I was investing a lot more time in training at that stage, and I couldn't handle that amount of training now. Like it would be I would be overloading myself. But then at the same time, I also have more on my plate now in terms of the business, or in terms of creating a family, or other time demands, spending time with my partner and that kind of thing. So I think, is it that I'm getting older, or is it really just that I have more responsibilities to take care of? So I have to just pull away. I have to back off on that a little bit, because I think if I went back to, the naive stage that we were in when we first started the business, where we just kind of trained a lot and coached a few classes and waited for people to show up, and I didn't have too much else going on, I could probably go back to 3 hours of training a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I actually, one thing I realized is I got by on a lot less sleep. Now I have to sleep more. So I have to be more respectful of that. But
well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you look at what I do, because I have the 3 kids and whatnot, and then there's the business and stuff. And especially it's become more obvious to me leading up to this fight and just trying to ramp up the training and be more consistent, because I've always been not that well regimented with week in, week out programs and whatnot. But it has to be kind of based off my recovery. So sleep is a big factor. What I do is I've found I have to be dictated by how much rest I have. So it's like I feel like when I do feel old, it's because I'm under recovered. It's not the overtraining; it's just under recovery all the time. Not much sleep, little baby, and that sort of business. So I find like, yeah, it's just that having that time. And I said it to Tash last night when I was just buzzed. I came home and I was like, I had that in my mind. I was like, I just need to be a teenager right now, which is go out all day, come back, don't fold anything, just go into your room, eat and sleep. I was like, because that's what we would do.
Yeah.
That's what we used to do.
Jerk off.
Oh yeah, I was going to do that. Yeah. But that's what we're doing when we're in our in that stage where we felt very youthful. We'd go and we'd do that for our training or whatever it was, and you'd probably train again in the afternoon. Then you'd just go and veg, and you'd just be like lying still. You wouldn't. I looked around the lounge room and there was a washing basket there, broken washing machine. I had to take the dryer off, and then the kitchen needed wrapping up for the night. And I was like, if I was a teenager, I'd just walk in my room and lie down and go to sleep and fuck, I don't have to
bail on this.
I just bail on this. And I was like, I kind of asked for just a bit of a tap out last night, and just because it's that recovery portion for me, I just I feel like if I did have all that recovery time, I feel I'm on the brink at the moment. I'd feel okay. I would feel okay. The joints are feeling a little bit definitely feeling achier in the mornings and stuff, but yeah. Well, we're crossing over.
So you got like...
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think what we have to recognize, it is a real thing, this extra responsibility and these more tasks that you have when you get older. But you can combat that by firstly getting more organized. So having that schedule that you can work to. We've talked about this for a multitude of times. But being more organized and also with the time that you have, get more specific with the kind of training that you're doing within that time. Because even though I feel like I've got less time to train now, because the aim of the sessions that I'm doing are much more targeted to what I want, and the information that we have access to nowadays, like the science and the methods, is so good. You can get a shitload done in a very short period of time. You know what I mean? Like you can, in an hour, you can have an excellent training session. And if you do that 3 hours a week and it's task driven, it's goal driven, there's aims and outcomes and everything that goes into those 3 sessions. Those 3 sessions are going to be way better for you than 2 hours a day of sitting on a bike or on a rowing machine or
fucking around
doing body pump exercises or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the other smaller changes that you make in life are all collective. So your nutrition, getting to bed a little bit earlier instead of sitting on social media or sitting on your emails, whatever it is, prioritizing yourself before certain other things in life that might feel a bit selfish at the time, but it pays off later down the track when you do have the energy to play with the kids, or you do have the energy to put a bit more effort into your work hours that you're actually working and getting more done over that time,
Yeah, I think those other little changes where probably if I think about the conversation you had and I think about that person, I think a lot of those first decisions are like those ones where you're making a conscious declaration to not submit to that. And then you're like, okay, in the first steps, they're probably going to do like the environmental ones. Like, I'm not going to, like, it's the cutting out of the harmful stuff.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying, which comes probably before the training for that person in my head, which is like, whatever, drinking, going out less,
get
something
rid of
like
the
that.
booze in the house.
Get rid of the booze in the house, but have drinks, but just don't have it always in the fridge and drink it during the week and all that. Those tactics are the first ones, and then
sometimes the training's the catalyst for that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
You sign up the gym, start doing it, start getting some good influences, and then you're like, oh fuck, I'm going to cut the drinking. I'm going to start eating.
Yep.
But you're right. Like in terms of what you can do now and what's important.
Yep. Yeah,
can
for sure.
set that stuff up. Like today, you don't have to pay anything to go and sleep an extra hour or to stop bringing alcohol or chocolate biscuits home, put them in the fridge.
I think another issue that anyone that's feeling like they're in a bit of that space, 30s, 40s, let themselves go, used to have a training history, coming back into a training routine can be dangerous because there's a potential that you've got big expectations of yourself. You're not the same person you were when you were training, and your chances for injury are generally much higher.
Benos.
Yeah. Yes.
Totally. As was demonstrated by Paul's mate who snapped his Achilles trying to sprint last week. 2 weeks ago.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like it's kind of I think a lot of guys in particular have this impression that they know what to do and they know how to train, because I used to train. I used to be a savage just like you guys. So I'm just going to go back to doing my old benchies program 3 days a week. But you're talking about Johnny, I'm talking about benchies. But getting yourself a coach and talking to someone who can actually assess you and then tell you, hey, this is going to be the best way for you to move forward is the best spending of your money. Like, it's the most valuable investment because they're going to shortcut that whole process for you, and you're going to get to a place that you want to get to in the quickest amount of time possible.
And safest.
Yes. Not being injured.
Yeah.
Not wasting time.
If you haven't been taught how to train, then you'll get injured. It's as simple as that. It's like not being taught how to drive a car and you're going to have a car accident. It's that simple.
What do you say to the guy who has the ego gets in the way? Like they don't want to, go in there. They don't want to ask the PT at their fitness first. Like, can I get some help? You know what I mean?
The good PT.
The good, or whatever it is. Like no one
one out of the 20.
It's hard to make the phone call and then have to like deal with the fit guy. It's a bit of an eye roller. You just have to push that.
It's so easily said, but so hard done for some people, right? But you've got to fucking like drop the ego, man.
Or live a life in pain.
Yeah, that's right.
The other option. Walk around in pain all day.
I mean, how many people did we see when I saw this all the time when I was working at Anytime Fitness? It was usually guys. There were some girls, but not as many. But usually guys who would kind of watch what I was doing from the outskirts, and they were always interested and they always wanted to know more. And I could tell they were in there every day. Like, I'm there working and they're there every day. And 6 months, 12 months goes past, not much is changing for them. They're still doing the same exercises, still pushing the same weights. Body composition hasn't changed, and they're watching, and I'm trying to catch their eye to be like, hey man, how you going? And they're like avoiding the eye contact. But it's like, dude, if you had have just come and had a conversation with me, your whole trajectory over the last 12 months could have you in a completely different space right now.
Could have got some returns for all the
Fucking
time
oath.
that you
Could have got
invested.
some gains, man.
Yeah.
Jesus. Right? Which is a concept like in our gym or any gym like ours that is just taken for granted because people are willingly here to receive coaching, and so we're giving it to them every day, and they're just like bump, like progressing from session to session, right? Whereas, if you're in that commercial environment, you just potentially have no exposure to someone that's giving you that coaching every day.
No, and there's a fair chance you don't really have. And I mean, toning up and losing fat it's not a goal. It's a byproduct. The goal has to be more concise than that. And if you don't have that, then you're on a hamster wheel. You're running around in circles. You're maintaining.
Love that.
I've actually had people tell me that that's what they want out of the training.
Yeah, it gets said a lot.
I feel like fucking backhanding them.
You point at them and look them up and down and say, maintain this.
Brutal.
What a silly thing to say. You're going to put 3 hours or 4 hours a day into anything. It's like when you're going to piano lessons and going to the piano teacher. What songs would you like to learn? I was like, I just want to maintain all the songs that I don't know to play. I don't know how to play, but I'm just going to maintain my level of music. I don't think they know musical what qualities. I
don't think they've thought about it. That's stupid. What that says to me.
Yeah, it's a really funny response, isn't it? Funny. It's a funny word. It's just in the fitness world.
Yeah.
The funny thing.
maintain. It's just a way of saying we put a little amount of time and effort into this to try and stifle my slow decay. That's kind of stuff we've got to combat.
So what about you, man? You turned 40 last year. So obviously there was a day when you were 39 and then you woke up the next day and you were 40. And obviously like at midnight that night, all of your joints started to ache more.
Yeah.
You got a little bit, like everything got harder. Like as you crossed that threshold from 11:59 through to 12:01.
You know how strange how silly that sounds, but how strangely effective, like how much of an effect it actually has on you that you don't realize is going to happen. Like I hit 40 and I was like, fuck, holy shit, like I'm 40. And I was almost waiting for it. You know what I mean? Like and obviously you slap yourself out of it, like, oh, just a fucking number. But anyway, it's a real thing. Like you've
conditioned.
You're conditioned. People telling you that you're old,
Yeah.
And then you start, you start believing it. You start believing it, But yeah, it's there, The way my approach to training is that I'm always making progress in something. I'm never going to be as strong as I was when I was doing a lot of lifting. I'm just not, And even if I tried to get back to that space, and I was never a huge lifter, but even if I tried to get back to that space, I'd probably have to do it at a cost that's not worth it, But there's other things that I can better myself at, and I think at any age, there's always going to be something to shit at, and just focus on that, and then you get the reward of those simple gains that you get from it, and you can continue to progress and evolve, and the direction of your training will change, And now the majority of my training is all body weight based, and I'm still making really good progress in those areas. And when that starts to really slow down or hurts a bit much, and the trajectory will change again, But there always has to be this moving forward, because you've got to look at this state of decay is like an elevator going down and you're walking up it. You know what I mean? So you have to be kind of powering a little bit to continue to be moving up this elevator. Otherwise,
escalator.
Escalator. So if you stop walking, if you stop walking, you're going to go down real quick. If you're just kind of taking your time, you're still regressing. But you need to be finding
stay in the same spot.
Yes, yeah. Well,
no, I like
that's
this
right.
analogy.
But if you've got a path that you can power down a little bit, then you're in a good place, And I think one day when you get to a certain age, you're not really going to acknowledge the age, because you're satisfying that urge of vitality and youth and strength,
Yeah.
And this will be me forever. I'll never retire. I'll always work. I'll always find a way to contribute, because I know that this is a huge part of vitality, like having a purpose. And with my own personal practice, I will always be making progress. In fact, I reckon by the time I'm like 60 or 70, I want to be like one of them yogi gurus. I think that would be an awesome job.
As in like have people to your retreat, mostly females.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Creepy spandex and a beard.
Yeah.
some
Welcome to Burning Man yoga practice.
Some of those tattoos, the triangles and stuff.
Geometric tattoos.
Geometric tattoos.
The sacred geometry.
Yeah.
I like that.
That'd be great.
Hey, it's funny you said about the 40 thing, and I think like the age thing works at all times, like when you're young as well. There's markers and expectations and stuff. And it came up recently when I was talking to Feoko, and we were talking about what an adult is. He said something, maybe it started off a conversation about when you're allowed to drink alcohol. And then we got into this conversation about what's the definition of an adult, and we were talking about his cousins, and I say, is he an adult or is he not? And like, how do you know? And I guess what I'm saying is like, if we didn't know, if we weren't counting the years and we didn't have the framework and all the cultural attachments that are with ages, etc., then you'd be back in primal times, and it would be all your physicality is just by merit type thing. You know what I mean? You're only as young as as how capable you are.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we should do. And if we didn't have those, then we'd all be walking around with no clothes on or just no cultural markers that say that we're older. You can see that your hair's grow old and your hair, you're grey a little bit, but you are still functioning, you're leading the tribe and whatnot, and you're physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just those markers all the way. And it was surprising, like when I think about adulthood and I was asking him about it, and it was an interesting convo, like what makes an adult an adult. And you think about those teen years and young manhood. Not everyone is an adult when they turn 18. Some people mature later,
Yes.
you know, and 16 and they mature later.
Some
and
never grow
this
up.
whole idea about you can drink and you can't drink,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just a bit of a mess around that age. But obviously, we live in
The one
super
size fits
societies, and
all.
we have to have laws and stuff like that. And
mean,
it was just an
average.
interesting convo to have with an 8-year-old, but it's kind of relevant because when you're 40, like, what does that freaking mean? It's one day to the next, and
Yeah.
you know, so it's just really, if you take that away, it's like when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel that morning?
Yes.
You know what I mean? How do you feel that morning? I mean, age is just a number.
That's right,
It
man.
is a number, but it's also
adult.
age is something you got to acknowledge and respect as well. And I think another, coming back to the mindset thing, one thing that's very important, and I think this is relative to males in their late 30s coming into 40s, is the way you perceive the environment that's around you. So let's say you come into an environment and you're making this comeback, and you're surrounded by younger males that are all doing crazy things, amazing things, and you can either look in a state of envy and just sit in a really bad place, or you can admire, and aspire. And I think just because somebody's younger than you doesn't mean that you have to be the boss of the room. You know what I mean? Because if you feel that way, especially if you're coming from a place where you've had some time off, you're not anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even for myself, and I'm fit and I'm strong, and I'm constantly like looking at some of the stuff these kids are doing here in this gym, and the progress and the speed and the progress that they make, and I just fucking admire it. And I know that if I didn't do that, if I envied it, I would be in a really horrible headspace, because that's the ego just kind of taking over, and then before you know it, you're just a grump, an arsehole to be around,
Yeah.
and you quit.
That's right. And then you go to a space where there's people that are more in your line of thinking.
Yeah.
And then you just dig the hole deeper.
Yeah. So I think it's the ego is very, very strong if you let it just start to take control of you,
I was thinking
It's a powerful force.
about jiu-jitsu before, and how I don't really have any great aspirations to compete again, but I might, like next year, I'd be kind of keen to, maybe once or twice. And I was thinking about it, and I'm in the Masters 2 division now. So I'm in the 35 to 40 division. And I find that so strange, because I think like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else other than the adult division, right, which is 18 to 30. And like when I turned 30, I could go into Masters 1, which is 30, and then it's like Masters 2, and I'm like, fuck, so strange. Like almost that categorization makes me feel old,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's just a kind of reflection of what that societal thing is about. Like, oh, you're 40 now, man. Yeah,
You can
it's
only roll
different.
with 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
Other broken old guys.
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember asking JT about it when I was registering for that comp that I never got to do because of my knee injury. But I was like, bro, do you think I should go Masters or adult? And he was like, bro, you're a fucking pussy if you go Masters. And I was like,
It's going to be great having him around.
Understood. Yeah. But then other people were like, man, maybe go Masters, get a bit of a tune-up match, not too physical. But yeah, it's just funny, right? Like those, because then I'm like, well, what happens when you get to 45 and then 50? Do they have more divisions, or are you just expected to stop at that point?
Yes.
It's it's the social conditioning about those ages and those brackets is, I think that's very self-limiting.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm glad that I know that there's masters divisions because I can go in that white belt comp and fucking hang out in there all day. I'm going to lie about my age and say I'm 50. Yeah. Take another arm.
You geriatric motherfucker.
I'm a geriatric. I found out, yeah, when we were in the hospital.
But geriatric in the...
we had a geriatric
within
birth
the
my
birth.
wife. Yeah.
Within the birth
medical
realm.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is
There's
it?
another fucking marker for you.
Yeah, if you're over 40, it's a geriatric birth?
I think it's 37.
37.
38 or something. But they had it written on my wife was highly offended. She's like, why did they write that? I was like, because it's a geriatric birth, like we're geriatrics. And she's like, they didn't need to write it on the fucking... She took
Savage.
offense. Yeah, she was not happy at all.
Understandable.
But that word, I guess, I mean...
Well, yeah, like it's
does it
tight.
mean?
Well, it's because despite how we feel and our attitude towards always developing and moving forward, there are biological factors that start to play.
That's right. Yeah.
So in the medical system, they got to do that.
Acknowledge that.
Definition of
acknowledge
geriatric, relating to old people, especially with regard to their healthcare.
So it's tied with the system. It's like a categorization which knows that the tissues aren't the same as they used to be.
Cells are old.
The cells or the immune system, and also
Especially with births.
Over 35, often
Over
referred to
35.
as geriatric pregnancy.
What's middle
We're all
aged?
geriatrics
What
then.
is middle aged?
That makes me
What
feel
is that?
better.
Is that 50 to 60? I always wondered because
No, I think it's 40s in there, isn't it? Is
middle
35
age. What's middle age these days?
Time span has been defined as the time between the ages, 45 and 60.
45 is it's who was it that posted about the fight night? It's Dan. He's like, I'm not having a midlife crisis. I was like, bro, you're not even in midlife.
It's true.
It's not in midlife yet.
I guess, and it changes.
He's partied pretty hard though. He's probably got the physiology of a 55-year-old.
True, very true. Point taken.
He's listening. He's like, yeah, fair. Have you guys read, or have you heard of it's in the book Born to Run, if you've ever read that. Have you heard of the Tara Umara tribe from Mexico?
Yeah.
And they're the famed long distance runners. But I remember I just looked it up because I read it years ago. But they have these, like they all smoke a bunch and drink a bunch of alcohol, and they pretty much just eat carbs. Like they're not considered to be uber healthy, but they all run like, I don't know, probably hundreds and hundreds of miles per week. And so they have these, I think they have runners who are in their 80s and they still run like marathon distances, not for any competition. It's just part of their culture. It's how they get around, and it almost sounds like a bit of a meditative thing for them. But they can do it because no one ever told them that you're not meant to do that when you're in your 80s. Like it's never been that concept of, you should be taking it easy, body's breaking down around now. It's never been part of their awareness. So they just don't adhere to it, and that they're capable of doing amazing things.
In the same way that there's plenty of people outside of the Western society that work physically well beyond retirement age here, working in the fields and whatnot. And look, this is just I don't really know much about it, but I see photos. There's people like where you would consider are just doing very physical work, farming for themselves or something like that, but you wouldn't think that they would be doing that here in, say, Sydney. Like, you wouldn't have a physical job, you'd be retired by then.
That's right.
Retirement's dangerous.
Yeah, well, I mean, the like living this comfortable life is dangerous.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I think that's, I was looking up some articles before about the average weight gain per year. And there's a lot of different studies around it that kind of show different periods and different times. But what I took from the general consensus is that we gain weight on average, we all gain weight every year, pretty much from our 20s onwards. And it's somewhere within the realm of like half a kilo to a kilo and a half or whatever. And this is remembering that like in Australia, 2/3 of adults are overweight and 25% of adults are obese, right? And this number's climbing steadily.
Jesus.
Well, 2020 would have boosted that up. I know I put on the kegs around the middle part of today. This year.
But it was saying that for you to gain half a kilo a year, this is really interesting. For you to gain half a kilo a year, you only need to eat an extra 2.5 or 2,766 calories on top of your maintenance calories, like your energy intake, for the entire year. So to put that in perspective,
Oh wow! I thought you were going to say week.
no. So I eat probably about 2,500. Let's say 2,500 calories for the sake of discussion is what I would eat as a maintenance level of calories. So I eat that every day, 365 days a year, right? Like I don't, but let's say that I do. But then off one of those days, I ate double that, or one of those weeks I added an extra. I had a splurge. I would gain 0.5 kilo that year, and I only have to do that year on year. If I do that for a decade, I've gained 5 kilos. If I do it for 2 decades, it's 10 kilos.
Wow.
And like you think,
Very
fuck
easy
me.
to do.
So easy to do.
Very easy.
And then it goes back down again when you get really old.
Well,
Potentially.
yes.
Or the people that have a higher body fat percentage are dying. That's the other way you could look at a graph like that. And the leaner
They
ones
stop
just
being
live
tested.
longer. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty and you think about like in the natural environment, it was just really it was really difficult to meet those requirements of maintenance calories. So you're constantly in a calorie deficit. You were constantly, you could say that you're probably always like a little bit hungry, but it kept you in good health. Whereas now for the majority of the time, most of us are overeating. And so it just gets like year on year, it just gets worse and worse.
Well, yeah, I don't think humans are designed to be carrying a lot of weight. There's animals out there, you look at animals in the Arctic and shit, and they're carrying. I mean, what's the fucking walrus got? It'd be like 50, 60% body fat, something more.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they're just
seem
like
happy.
chilling. They're good.
Yeah.
But not for humans. It's not good for humans.
Well, that's right. They're in the Arctic waters.
Yeah.
Wait, walruses, are they there? Seals.
Walrus?
I'm thinking seals.
Yeah. Seals are fat. They've got fat on them.
Yeah, love it.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you're designed for a specific purpose, you want to try and stay within that environment and try and replicate a little bit of it to stay healthy. No.
So, in summary, we should wrap this up. What are the things that we touched on there throughout? The key things that we think are going to enable someone who might find themselves in that position where they're like, "Yeah, fuck, I'm not where I want to be. I've had this narrative in my head.
35 to 45.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that shit. I got a lot on my plate, right? I got to deal with that, but I can carve out a more healthy lifestyle for myself.
It's not over, I think, is what we're trying to say. And there's lots you can do, and there's plenty of decades of life ahead of you, especially when you have
quality life,
life too. And especially if you've just had kids or you're planning on having kids. I mean, I know for myself, it's a big reset. You have a kid and you realize all those things can fall away. You're like, I got to do everything before I have kids. It's like there's the world ahead of you when you do have kids.
Yeah.
And it's just a reset. Like you're just looking forward. And there's so much more to live for. And
Keep on trucking.
To keep on trucking, make those hard decisions, because it takes a lot of courage to say, I have to do away with that time of my life or those things that I enjoy, and then just a little bit at a time, go find help.
Yep. Change your environment. Well, you got to change your environment. Make small minor changes over time equals big change, but your day-to-day decisions and actions will dictate your health. And this also is hand in hand with your mindset. You got to change the way you think about yourself too. It isn't all about the kids and work. It's all about you, and that needs to be at the top of the pyramid, because everything else will benefit from you being in the best shape you can be in. Simple as that.
Preach.
There it is. Thanks, fam. Appreciate you guys listening today. If you enjoyed that episode, please leave us a review, take a screenshot of it, post on your Instagram, tag us, do something like that, share it with a friend. Just help to spread the word. That helps to support the show. Appreciate you guys listening. Paulie, T, good to have you guys.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers. And if you want any help with your training, or you want to talk about any of that stuff, or you got any thoughts you want to share with us, get at us, junglebrothers.com, and we'll be happy to help, because we help people with that kind of shit every day of the week.
Yeah, if you're 35, 40, get down here.
Hit us up.
Look after you.
Become savage. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye.